It's time once again for another episode of CoFounders Radio. Broadcasting live from the Pro Business Channel studios in Atlanta. And now, here's your host, Rich Casanova.
All right, we are locked and loaded on the Pro Business Channel networks here in Atlanta with our $1 billion Buckhead view. If you've ever been in Atlanta, this is where it's happening.
Yeah.
Alongside Craig Williams.
Goes up every week.
Right. Well, we decided to change it because there's not $1 million. There's no property out there that's worth $1 million.
Of course.
Yeah. They're
of
all.
Course.
If you,
You're spot
we
on.
did the math. Yeah, it's a Buckhead $1 billion view.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So, haven't seen you in a little while. You've been traveling on the road and got some cool things cooking.
Yep. Just making sure that we stay above ground here.
Nice. That's always a good place to be. Yeah. So, if you're just tuning in, as we mentioned, this is the Co-Founders podcast being brought to you in part by WeWork. Always excited about this episode. WeWork is, we say it's the world's largest that we know of.
Yeah.
Co-working space around the world. 70 markets, 6 countries around the world, and we're round of applause for
over 60,000 members.
It's crazy.
Strong and growing about 10% a month.
Yeah. Do we have stock in that yet, or how does this?
Sure we do. Yeah.
All right.
It's private.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
But we have an interest.
Well, absolutely. We're big fans, not only as them as a media partner, but as members ourselves, and we have a member in the studio as well. But before we introduce our first guest, if you would just introduce yourself, and Joey, if you'd start things off, name, company name, and what's a teaser you might be sharing with us today?
Yeah, so thanks for having me on today. I am Joey Womack, founder of Amplify for Good. We help organizations create social impact, and so I'm trying to help 1 billion people, man. That's what I'm talking about today. I'm trying to help 1 billion people by the year 2039.
Yeah, to match our $1 billion view. That's right.
There it is.
All right, so we have a theme going on here. So Nina, carry on the $1 billion themes.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about yourself briefly, because we're going to do a full interview in just a moment, but about your company and your mission, if you would.
Sure. So my name is Nina Kacharava, and the name of the company is NinaCDN, which is kind of really interesting because I literally spend a week thinking of a domain name, and I'm like, hey, why not start something simple? So what I do is basically I'm sort of like the fuel for a car. I deliver your content to the end viewer, no matter on what device. It will be a cell phone, TV, tablet, whatsoever. So for more details, probably we'll go into the separate interview, like who's the customer and so on. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
So you're fueling content.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're the fire behind the content.
At
a billion views.
There you go.
Exactly. So
Man, the pressure's on now.
Yeah. It's for billion viewers and more.
Nice. And beyond. Billion and beyond.
Billion and beyond.
All right. So Sherry
Kubanyi,
welcome
correct.
to the show. We're neighbors right down the hall at WeWork.
Yes, we are.
Yeah,
I love WeWork.
Yeah, we do too. So welcome to the studio. First time in the studio, right?
Yes, it is.
Very excited to have you here. So
excited to be here.
Absolutely. So let's before we jump into your business and your mission, tell us a little bit about yourself and what people may or may not know.
Okay. Well, like you said, my name's Sherry Kubanyi, and I am a personal injury attorney. And I think what a lot of people don't know is that I'm also a pro athlete.
If you're looking at her, you would.
I know.
you would
That's
know.
what I was thinking. I'm like, okay.
I'm trying to
she
hold
can't
my
be
gut
just
in
an
as we're
attorney.
talking here.
Breathe, Rich.
Breathe.
That's funny. And I do fitness modeling. But I think mostly what is passion for me is the law. I think the fitness helps balance the stress that comes along with being a solo practitioner.
I was just going to mention that. And so you live and breathe that every day.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so fast forward, why law school and why personal injury, and how long have you been doing what you're doing?
Absolutely. Well, I've been in the legal industry for over 20 years. I'm just not going to give a specific amount of time.
She started when
As
she
a
was
lady's
11.
age, yeah. I mean, I was
I didn't know they
5.
started law school.
I was 5, yeah.
Middle school, yeah.
And I actually started off as a paralegal.
Okay.
And I wanted to kind of see what it was like being a tribe's member before I transcended into being a chief. I worked under defense lawyers, and I also worked under plaintiffs' attorneys, trying to determine which side I found most appealable. And it turned out that I liked defending the individual more than the corporation. I did that for a number of years until I noticed that I was handling cases from the inception to conclusion, but I wasn't getting the attorney pay. And I thought, I want $1 billion.
Yeah, there you go.
There it is. There it is. All right, get credit, yeah.
Yeah, so I started going to law school at night, and I worked full-time during the day. Graduated, had a insane time studying for the bar while working full-time, but got through all of that, and now here I am.
Wow. Great story. Great story. And tell me a little bit about how you're able to integrate the balance of what you do in your daily life.
Well, first and foremost, I enjoy helping others. I mean, it's a compulsion of mine to the degree of I've got several pro bono cases that I take because people will walk up to me and just ask random questions, and based upon my time availability, I'll say, I can help you with that. I'm helping the lady that cleans my building. I'm helping just a random person that I saw at Target one day who was outside. It is just the driving need to help others.
Well, we both have personal testimonies. I know just walking down the hall, you've stopped by our space and said, with accidents we both had about the same time.
Yeah.
And I don't think we were on the clock, whatever, the meter wasn't running, and just a true concern. I feel the passion of that you had a genuine interest in and giving some pro bono advice and some tips to both of us. Yeah.
And so I see how how you're able to meld that. I mean, you take good care of yourself, and it's better to love others as you love yourself.
Yes.
Literally and figuratively.
Yes.
So I see how that's natural for you because, I mean, you're doing such a good job on taking care of you, and it's natural for you to, share with others. And so I definitely see how that is reflected in her firm.
Talk to us about your firm. What makes it unique?
I think what makes it unique is that I look at each client as an individual and not as a number. I usually have or tell my clients, when you call, you will speak to me more than you will my assistant. And that's just mostly because I need to know about your case. I need to know what's wrong with you firsthand, not secondhand from someone else. And unfortunately, a lot of the bigger firms don't necessarily have, I think it's the attorney time because, for instance, on the way over here, I had a client call me on my cell phone in a panic, and I sat out in the parking lot trying to handle that. And it can be a little trying sometimes to try and balance it all yourself. But I think just having that personal touch with the client means a lot. And I unfortunately, I really feel that a lot of attorneys have lost the ability to intimately advocate for their client. And they look at every incident as the same incident, and it's not.
It is easy. Yeah, it is easier to do that.
You mentioned your assistant. I reached out to her and said, "Will you be joining us in the studio to observe it?" She said, "No, she's going to be back at the office." So a shout out to her,
Erica. Thanks, Erica. We love you. Now get back to work.
That's what she kind of said. She said, "No, I can't be here because there's work to be done back at the headquarters." Yeah. I don't know if there's a typical day, but what are some of the most rewarding experiences and challenges that you have in your practice?
The most rewarding is when you can tell that you really, really helped someone. I had a client recently who was involved in an accident, and she had 6 children. Husband passed away. She was the solo breadwinner. And had been kind of screwed around by another firm, a larger firm, and came to me a little just distraught and frustrated by that. And the first thing she said after our conversation was, "Can I hug you?" And I was like, yeah. And she said, because you've sat here and you've listened to me, and regardless of the outcome, I really just want it to be heard. And thank goodness we got a really good outcome for her, and set her up with a financial planner. So she's able to kind of put some money aside for herself and her kids.
Awesome.
So
That personal touch.
Yeah.
Just kind of on topic, off topic, but I was watching this video about this guy running around with the T-shirt free hug and the sign, and the reaction he was getting from people. We just need more of that personal contact.
Yes.
Right? I mean, we've lost that.
Aggressively advocate for another person without really,
feeling.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's this whole PC environment, and people don't, these boundaries we want to overstep. But so let folks know what's the best way to reach out to you. What's a good point of contact for you, Sherry?
Oh, okay. Several ways. You can reach me through email, and that's Sherry, Sherry, at KubanyFirm.com. It's a Hungarian name, so I'm going to spell it. And it's Kub, as in boy, Anyi, firm.com. Or you can give us a call, and that's 404-965-7112. I'm at Extension 1. Erica is at Extension 2. We keep our practice small so that you get the personal care that you deserve.
It's that boutique firm.
It's absolutely.
Hungarian goulash. Do you ever make any of that?
Oh my gosh, I've had
afterwards.
Some
good stuff.
And fish soup.
Yeah.
You got to have the fish soup.
All right, so you're listening to the CoFounders podcast being brought to you in part by WeWork. Just go to WeWork.com. Rich Castle alongside Craig Williams. And for those billion-dollar Joey Womack fans, he's in the house in the studio here, so stand by for a conversation with Joey in just a minute. We're going to turn our attention now to back to Nina. So, Nina, so we heard a little bit about you in the teaser, but tell us Hungarian, or what's your background?
Okay, well, first
Russian,
of all,
right?
After such an impressive pitch and everything what Sherry does, I'm kind of like, okay, maybe I should just stand by.
Come on.
You'll do
Or
fine,
just go back and study law again.
Maybe
right?
inspired, huh?
Yeah, I know. Well, it's really funny. It's actually a very good icebreaker normally. I am from the country of Georgia.
Yes.
Living
okay.
in Georgia. Yeah.
That's
and everyone is
confusing.
like, nah, you can't be from Georgia. You have that accent. I'm like, well, yeah, that is Georgia. No. And, like, my friend is like, can't you just say, like, from Nashville, Tennessee? Or, like, something like that. You don't really have to explain it. So
It's like, who's on first? I asked you what country you're from. You said Georgia. Yeah.
Yeah.
That can be confusing, yeah.
It is, especially when you are in Georgia.
Yeah.
All right, so besides geography, so what keeps you busy? Tell us about your business, your mission.
Sure. Well, probably you might be interested in why I decided to do it, and why Content Delivery Network when there's so many ideas outside, and every time on networking events I go and I listen to these amazing ideas that everyone has. So it all started when I was working for one of the cutting edge technology firms, and I started as a sales person, typical things that you do, like cold call, try to convince someone to buy it, go on trade shows, smile, start, hey, I'm Nina from Georgia, living in Georgia, why don't you buy our service? And all that stuff. So I was pretty much doing it for exactly 2 years, and I had a perfect idea of what people wanted. Like, I knew what was, for example, the average budget of, let's say, a small to medium broadcaster. I knew what was the budget of a church. I knew what people wanted overseas, what type of services. And I decided I have the experience, I have the knowledge, I have the good contacts, I have a perfect relationship with the company I'm working for. So why not do something, act as a sort of a reseller, but just use their backbone, because the whole technology, I just really don't want to go into details because everybody will be like, okay, she's confusing us right now. But well, the technology, definitely that's not something one person can do. So I needed someone to actually to run that technical part. But rather than that, I decided, hey, why don't you go and build your own thing? For example, what is the average price people are looking for? Why don't you create some packages, streaming platforms? For example, what big customers want. Why don't you combine it and do something on your own? So I would say it was kind of a challenge from my side to do something on your own based on your experience, see what you can do. Because, it's one thing is when you're working for someone, and another thing is you learn way more when you're doing it alone.
Oh, yeah.
So basically, It's only me. Literally only me. I just sometimes ask
That's
for
why it
like
starts with Nina.
Yeah, I know. It's really funny. I had so many good ideas, but I was like, okay, well, So I built a website in summer while actually I was doing internship in a law firm, by the way, because I had that kind of time so I can work and plus I get paid. And I built a website. I came up with a marketing plan. I actually was writing the press releases, which I'm not very good at like writing, but I said, why not? So did everything on my own. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm running my own CDN.
So who are you reaching out to? Who are some of the clients? Looks like you mentioned the churches, educational institutions.
Yeah, exactly. First, I would say that anyone who just wants to deliver their content, and it can even be us right now sitting in the studio who wants to live stream their event so people can just log in from their computers, cell phones, and watch.
What are some of the live stream platforms you utilize?
So I use a CDN backbone that is based out of Atlanta, Georgia. So I provide every kind of service, including live on-demand content. It can be DVR feature, adaptive bitrate. So for example, if someone is watching in Europe or Asia where the internet is very slow or watching from even 3G, you want to have that feature to like decrease or increase your internet speed. So the customer can be really anyone. When I was doing like sales back in the company, what I used to do is just reach out for example, it's like Monday, right? The Monday is the day you would like to reach out to broadcasters and, just offer your service to broadcasters. Then also, and that's from my experience. A lot of people, for example, let's take the gym. How many times you wanted to go to the gym, but you have to, drop off your kid and then like prepare dinner and, you don't really have time to travel till there. So I just like actually approached one of the gyms, like, why don't you do the live stream? So people don't really have to come at your classes, but actually watch it live.
So I can work out on my couch and just virtually.
No. That's not going to work.
It'd be great if it was that easy, yeah.
No, that's not going to work. Also, again, from experience, there was a lot of times there were some conferences, but, someone could not make it. Like someone was in San Francisco, for example, and the conference is in New York. Just like live stream the event so someone can actually just attend it. So,
Right,
yeah.
Well, a little selfish here, so let me pick your brain. If we had a conversation about live streaming here,
Right.
which we are doing audio, we're about 3 different platforms, and then video. So we've utilized a number of these. So I want to see your thoughts on yay or nay or preferences. So right now, like we're on Periscope, Facebook Live, YouTube. I don't know how much you know about YouTube live streaming, but they haven't quite cracked the code on that. It's been my experience is that you have to get it to true live stream, you have to drop down to like 240 instead of 1080. But my preference is really the brand live stream, right? Which some of the big guys use. And I've had great experience with that, but then
there's NinaCDN. Why should
Yeah,
we?
she's the filter. She's the personal touch. I mean,
exactly.
just
Well,
listening to her, I was
So,
thinking about what
so
Sherry
you
was
bring
saying.
this on site. Walk me through like if we had you here live
Right.
streaming, what would that look like?
Okay, perfect. Well, a lot of times I had a situation when we were talking with someone and they said, well, you know what? I have YouTube, so why should I even pay you even $35, $100 or $1,000 when this is absolutely free? I can upload my videos, and when I go live, you can go live as well. And there's a really simple answer to that. Once you put your content on YouTube, that content does not belong to you. Period.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's it. If that's something you're really kind of concerned about, I think that's the first answer I would give.
And also, they put right next to your content all of your competitors are completely inappropriate, and your brand gets kind of thrown in that same sandbox. So, for that reason, I'm not a big proponent of the YouTube platform. But we got a couple of follow-up questions. We're going to maybe save those for some open panel
Sure.
here. What's the best way for people to reach out to you?
Oh, well, I think, like Shannon also mentioned, the communication is key. So I think people like nowadays value, for example, when I was working, they were like, we love your company because whenever I call, a real person is answering the phone.
Right.
It's not like somewhere like... so I keep it really simple. I'm trying to be accessible on all possible ways. So my cell phone or Skype or email. My email is simple. It's N as in Nancy, K nk@ninacdn.com. I use my contact number, my cell phone, primarily just because I can answer it all the time. It's 404-740-7303. And also Skype, just because a lot of our customers are overseas and,
Right. And you are in video, so that makes sense too.
It does. So my Skype ID is my first and last name, Nina, Kacharava, number 2. And I'm always
There's
glad
a number 1 out there somewhere?
Apparently.
In Georgia, but not in Atlanta.
Apparently
Yeah.
there is. You'll be surprised that there is, because I was
right.
like, Nina Kacharava, okay, that's not available. Then number 1, not available. I'm like, okay, number 2.
What's the deal? All right, so Nina, thanks. You're definitely a subject matter expert. We may have to have a conversation off air here shortly. So once again, you're listening to, and I'm listening to also.
Yeah.
We're all listening to the Co-Founders podcast, being brought to you in part by WeWork. Just go to WeWork.com. Rich Casanova and Craig Williams here in the studio in our Pro Business Channel studios in Buckhead. So now, Joey, let's talk.
What's going on?
Yeah. Well, you're ready. You're locked and loaded. It sounds like that.
Right.
Bring it on. So before we jump into business, what have you been doing in your former life or lives, in your background, if you would?
Interesting enough, for all the stuff that I do, and I can talk about shortly, I went to school to be an accountant.
Oh, wow.
So I went to school to be an accountant, got an MBA, 24, and been living the startup life ever since.
Yeah. So talk to us about your current startup life with Amplify for Good. What does that look like? Or
it's crazy. It's literally crazy. I mean,
Good answer.
It's actually maybe too much. Yeah. So
you used to have a full head of hair like
that. Yeah, man. Yeah. Just can't let it go. Yeah. So So we help organizations create social impact, and quite honestly, pretty interesting side story. It actually started by accident.
Okay.
Amplify for Good started by accident, and the originating version of it was intended to be a one-time side project, and so. I can go way deep into that story, but now we help organizations create social impact. And so typically we do this through what we call innovation labs. Okay. So these are innovation labs.
Labs, okay.
So these are hackathons. These are ideation sessions where we take an organization's, one of two ways. We take an organization's employees, put them through this innovative, immersive kind of competitive environment, and have them come up with these crazy off-the-wall ideas that can solve a problem that's related to social impact. Okay. And so these companies can be for-profit or they can be nonprofit. Mm-hmm. So we've worked with Google, helping them think through what they're doing for this year's presidential elections. Sorry about the whole YouTube thing.
It's okay.
That was last year. We've done a hackathon for Atlanta Hartsfield Jackson. We worked with Care USA, training their international leaders on how to think like a tech entrepreneur to solve problems in their countries. And actually on Thursday, I'm doing essentially a podcast with them, or a webinar for their West African leaders. Wow. We've worked with, this weekend, actually, we're going to Ford. We're going to Detroit to do a hackathon for Ford Motor Company. Wow. They are rolling out this whole STEAM curriculum where it's Common Core based, it's next gen science based. And so they're going to roll it out nationally to teachers, so teachers can teach it in their schools.
So it's the STEAM education. They're not bringing back the steam engine.
No.
Add
art education.
Yeah. You have some history in the automobile business.
Oh yeah,
right?
Started right out of high school with General Motors.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And got a lot of interest up in Detroit as well.
Yeah.
But really excited about what you're doing. Been following you for some time, and down at ATDC and my folks over at CEO of My Life. And
cool, man.
And shout out.
I think
to
you were
all
just in Detroit as well.
Oh yeah. 2 trips up there. Twice. That's the promised land, folks. Just remember that.
Detroit's doing a lot of great things.
Jump on the plane with Joey or whatever.
Yeah. Thursday afternoon.
Afternoon.
24, 48 hours.
Nice. Yeah. So this idea of a hackathon, I love we've heard a lot of this activity going on in the startup community and villages, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's kind of unique what you're doing, or it is unique, not kind, but in the business environment, in the corporate structure, because a lot of times I think there's a lot of companies that have been by the wayside because they've lost the innovation mindset, right?
Yep.
From Netflix taking over Blockbuster and so forth and so on, right? So this idea of going to Hartsfield, Atlanta Hartsfield International Airport, and is it team building on steroids kind of thing? So they're having to kind of decode what they're currently doing and hack their own current operation system, but for good. Talk about both of those pieces.
Yeah, right? Yeah, that's that's one of the ways we do it. Now, Hartsfield-Jackson was kind of a different type of environment. In this case, it was what we call like a corporate incubator lab.
Yeah.
And so essentially, after the hackathon ended, the winning teams got to work with Hartsfield exclusively. So Hartsfield was their first customer.
Oh, okay.
And
I
so
gotcha.
to a certain extent, it was a diversity and inclusion play. It
Right.
was open to everybody, but the two winning teams were led by minority founders. And so when you say that you can, you just started this company at this weekend hackathon, and your first customer is Hartsfield-Jackson, the biggest in the world.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wow.
You can
That
go
is
anywhere.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I mean,
that can take you anywhere or whatever.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
do that.
Now we're talking about billions.
Right.
Yeah, first client, Hartsfield. Yeah, wow. How can we get in on that? Yeah.
Well, let's talk.
Yeah. So this principle of for good. That's what really that's empowering. Talk to us about, because you're taking it to a different, not just a different level, but a different experience.
Sure. Yeah. And so everything that I do is kind of built off this belief that we already have everything that we need in our communities to make the change we want to see
Most
happen.
definitely.
Oh, wow.
It's just that ecosystem, all the stakeholders involved, is highly inefficient. Like if it's a car, it's getting like 3 miles a gallon.
Right.
And so our thought, one of the initial thought process was, if we can help organizations that are doing amazing work to become even better by solving some of their biggest challenges via technology, we're just going to accelerate change.
Yeah.
It's sort of starting something from new. Like we
And
have
that's
this
where the
whole-
amplification comes from.
Yeah, that's
outside
where-
of being very intentional, just like at Pro Business, we're about the business, and he's about the result of the business that he's serving. But it's amplified not only through the message, but through the actual outcome.
Sure.
So,
Yep.
Well, going from beyond business and the people to a greater picture and mission, right? So what are some of these social platforms or folks or that you've helped, or what's on the short list of organizations that benefit from, that opportunity for good?
Yeah, sure. So, I can talk about. Well, actually, I can't talk about because we have a lawyer in the room. I'm sure she can understand. So stuff that we're doing, like we've done with Google.
Just don't make eye contact.
I can't talk too much about Google, but some really cool projects. Coca-Cola as well. Some
Dang.
really cool things. I mean, you talk about worldwide impacts.
Oh, man.
Help them kind of just come up with ideas. I can talk about a little bit about what we've done for CARE.
Okay, yeah.
USA. I mean, again, they have this whole leadership development program for their emerging leaders, and so we put their employees, when they bring them here to Atlanta, through this 24, 36-hour innovation lab. And so some of those projects are spun out internally. They get funded internally and they actually get launched. And so actually, there was a conference call this morning where one of the projects from our April event, this past April,
Right.
is getting worked on in Malawi.
Wow.
And so
Wow.
the conference call was at 7 a.m. I couldn't make that one. But yeah. I mean, it's a beautiful thing, especially from the CARE project, because
Right.
most of the individuals internationally, English is not their first language. And so we're training them in, customer development, lean startup.
Yeah.
English is not their first language, and to see them pick it up and then present it to their CEO in a matter of, a day or two, it's an amazing. The first time it happened, I started crying. I started crying. And they're presenting, they're grasping the concept, they're presenting it to their CEOs and to their board, and now they're making it happen.
Yeah. Did any firewalking take place during any of these events? Or
Not yet.
kind of a random question, but what's similar about these events and what's kind of different? So in terms of the scale and scope, the number of participants, the length of the events,
Sure.
and the outcome.
Yeah. So we have this thing called the process.
Okay.
I'm from Alabama, a big Nick Saban fan,
Right.
and it's a process too. And our process for creating change is the same. And so there's kind of some variables that kind of go along the way. So for instance, we can go from participants from, let's say, 20 up to about 50.
Okay.
After like 50, it becomes a little bit kind
Yeah.
of unmanageable. Now we can also go from 4 hours. A 4-hour ideation session to a 5-day, like essentially
Wow.
incubator, a mini accelerator,
Yeah.
what it boils down to.
And these 5 days, do they leave home? Do they go home? Do they shower, or what's? Because sometimes I've seen online some of these hackathons, and they're just like pizzas being delivered, and it's
Right.
like 20. They're not
Yeah.
sleeping at all, right?
Yeah. No, the 5 days they go home. They definitely go
Yeah.
home. It's kind of like a mini accelerator with office hours, with semifinal round judging, and
Wow.
it's a big deal.
Very intense.
Very
Very
intense,
intense.
yep.
That's awesome.
any yourself or anybody been on Shark Tank or
No, we haven't done that. We actually have had individuals who served as mentors and coaches.
Okay.
They've participated. I think there are some individuals, some teams that have come from it. They have the potential moving forward.
Yeah.
But nobody as of yet.
And we're going to go around one more time. What's next for each of our guests? So we'll start with Joey. But first of all, before we forget, how would folks reach out to you and get in touch with you?
Sure. So if everyone, web is we're all digital here.
Yeah.
And so amplify the number 4 good. So it's amplify for good, amplify the number 4good.com. You can also reach me via email at Joey, Joey, at amplify the number 4good.com.
Home address, social security number?
No.
For legal reasons, yeah.
Yeah. You might want to.
So what's next? And I could do another segment, but I'm just.
Are you talking about this week or next?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There's always a what next
before he
with
leaves
Joey.
on Thursday. Yeah.
Yeah.
But how do people? Do you reach out to people? How do people find you? But then, and what's on the horizon?
Yeah. So we've been blessed that pretty much everything we've done so far has been inbound.
Okay. Wow.
So I started out kind of this in my former life with a pretty huge network, and so everything's been inbound, and so we're looking to do so that there's a few kind of levels to our what's next. We have a few projects coming up, but also it's kind of getting to different type of environments. So conferences, now we're starting to do more things around conferences. We said that we specialize in going from conversation to solution, and so conversations happen all the time.
Yeah.
And so doing more things around conferences, going into more companies, training more individuals that are entrepreneurial in nature to actually lead our ideation sessions, and then also developing technology. Because again, we teach people how to think like a tech entrepreneur. The ideation
which is foreign to a lot of these folks, right?
Right.
On that level, the executive levels and so forth.
right.
Right. Yeah.
We do a pretty good job of kind of making it culturally relevant.
Okay.
But the last piece is kind of on the technology. The hackathons, the ideation sessions are the classroom. We're looking to do more, build some products that prepare them to be better innovators coming in, and also continue their education afterward.
Okay. I like conversations to solutions. That's on our walls. We convert conversations to content.
Oh,
So,
really?
yeah. So
Let's talk more. I didn't even see that.
Yeah.
exactly.
Everywhere.
Content. So speaking of content, Nina, what's next for you?
Oh wow, that's a interesting one. Well, I do have a whole list of what's next. First of all, it would be
Just
kind
give me
of
one or two.
Yeah, it's like kind of to just broaden and add more things that would help and simplify others' life in terms of streaming.
That if you can simplify, everybody's on board, right?
Right.
Streamlining. One of my favorite phrases is to simplify life to elevate purpose.
Right.
Think about that one, right?
I like that.
For good. So simplify life to elevate purpose, because we are kind of bombarded with so much information overload, content overload, and so many opportunities. But you have to be able to say no, and you have to kind of focus on a few things that you can do really well. Yes or yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. So
Super yes.
super yes. We've never had a super yes before, yeah. All right, so Sherry, what's next?
Well, I like your statement just then. Keeping the practice of law simple to elevate the experience for each one of my clients. Make certain that they continue to feel unique and that their case matters, that they matter, because I think that that's what an attorney's purpose should be. And it's about, taking care of the person who's in your charge, being a aggressive advocate. And we will continue to do that.
Yeah.
Got some great stewards here, man.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, great stewards.
Yeah, because I think we're all on the same page as far as that philosophy, because I don't think it would work out well the opposite for a meet with a client and say, I'm going to make your life really complicated. Are you on board?
As hard as I can make it, yeah.
You can sell that for sure.
But sometimes we may not say that verbally, but people pick up on that.
Yeah.
They're like, this is too much.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And we are out of time. I can't believe this. We need to make this an hour show.
Yeah.
Moving forward. Time just flew by here in the studio. So Craig's closing thoughts or
Well, I mean, it's still the ethos of what we do at WeWork and here, and it's good that whether they're members or not, we see a consistency of the community and really being intentional about being significant to the person you're serving so that they can perpetuate that to who they're serving as well. So continue to do the great work that you all are doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad you mentioned WeWork again, being brought to you in part by, and some of the folks have been there or members, but whether you're a member or considering membership or need a space or not, but you can actually go to probusinessevents.com and you'll see the lineup, and you're always welcome. The whole, it's a collaborative environment experience to come and
definitely
participate. One of our signature events is the CoFounders Lab, which is in kind of partnership with this show as well. So we do an in-person live experience.
Nice.
That'll be coming up every other month at WeWork here in Atlanta, and they're in 45 markets throughout the U.S., and we're the ambassadors for the city of Atlanta. So we
for Georgia.
For Georgia, okay.
With Georgia. Which?
In Georgia, but Georgia, the state of Georgia, yeah.
Yeah, the state of Georgia.
We'll move to Russia if it adds up, yeah. All right, so...
Not Russia, though.
No, it's not Russia.
Oh, what did I say?
Yeah.
No.
It's Georgia.
No, I mean,
The
it's not
country of
Russia.
Georgia,
It's
yeah.
just like next to
Next
Russia.
to
but
Russia,
yeah. Luckily, it's not Russia.
All right, so I'll check my GPS and we'll edit that out.
Figure
of the
it
show,
out.
yeah.
There you go.
All right, we'll see you guys next time on the Co-Founders podcast.
Thank you for joining Rich Casanova and his guests on the